Welcome to the Future of Customer Service podcast. I'm Andrea Paulton from Inbenta, and I will be interviewing customer support and service professionals to see what is currently working well, what issues they're trying to overcome, and the future success of customer service. Hello there. Today we have Paul Collins. He's currently the VP of Sales from The Dotcom. And yes, we're going to get into that and the name of that company because it's so unique. So I'm going to be asking Paul some questions. Paul is a sales expert. He also used to work at Google. So Paul, thank you so much for being here. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do for The Dotcom?
Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, pleasure to be here. I'm excited to have a conversation this morning. So I am currently the VP of Sales at The Dotcom, and I'll just quickly plug the URL because it's one of the most unique and best parts of the organization. It is simply the.com. So check us out. And we are a professional website building platform, really built for agencies and freelancers and other SaaS businesses who build a lot of build websites at scale. And really the problems that we're trying to solve in the website building market are today, you kind of have two options if you want to build a website. You either build it from the ground up, super custom on a platform like WordPress or Drupal, or you use a very simple kind of templated program, a drag and drop builder like a Squarespace or Wix. But it's really hard to build something super cool and custom that also works really well, is super fast and easy. So we're trying to take the best of both worlds, and that's what the .com is all about. And we're revolutionizing the way to build and manage and deploy websites. It's really exciting.
Oh, I love it. Are you targeting more like a solo entrepreneur freelancer, or are you targeting more like big enterprise companies?
Well, we're very early. We're an early stage startup right now. And I'll mention we're out here in Boulder, Colorado, a great place to be in the startup community. So right now, kind of our bullseye target and the users, the customers who we've found can derive the most value from our solution the fastest are these small agencies, small web development and design agencies, and freelancers. So if you think about the gig economy and you think about kind of what's happening in our current situation with the global pandemic, there's just a huge movement to, one, businesses turning to online to open up their storefronts and build their businesses online. But two, also, people have side hustles, right? People have their side projects and have a need and a desire to get their message and their word out. So eventually our platform can solve a lot of problems and address a lot of use cases. But right now we are focused on kind of that smaller agency / freelancer / semi-developer, which is a huge and kind of growing audience. All these people who don't necessarily go deep into programming and coding language, but they know how those things work. And that's kind of the evolution of software in general, just more low code developers.
Okay. I don't know if you knew this, but I went to CU Boulder and I actually live in Colorado. So we're neighbors. I'm in Colorado Springs. I'd rather live in Boulder.
Yeah, we'll come visit anytime. Someday we'll be able to get together and do this live, maybe over a cup of coffee. Yes.
So how the heck did you guys get that URL, the.com?
The.com. It's a interesting story. And it was, so the company was founded by two gentlemen, Clark and Jeff, who used to run a WordPress agency themselves here in Boulder. So they built thousands of custom WordPress websites, and finally realized there's got to be a better way. So they started building this tool as kind of an internal workflow management tool that now has become a full-fledged CMS plus website editor platform. And in their early days, they linked up with an advisor who is now an investor, who spent a lot of time in the domain world, for one of the big kind of domain registrars out there. So this person was sitting on this URL, the .com, and pitched it to the co-founders as a place to build the platform. And there was some reticence early on. It's while unique, it can also bring in maybe some unwanted traffic because it is just so ubiquitous. But then as the vision kind of materialized, we're really about redefining how you get onto the internet, onto the web. Like that is what our platform fundamentally does. So then they kind of took the advisor up on the offer and moved everything over to the.com. And from a sales perspective, I love it because it's a great conversation starter. It's a great hook. People are always like, how did you get that domain? That's so cool. How much did you have to pay for it? And the answer is, actually not that much, because there's a vested interest by the person who owns the domain.
Oh, that's so unique. I do. And I like that you guys even have merchandise. I went to your website and saw the merchandise. That's really neat. So Paul, the reason I wanted to interview you is because usually we interview a lot of customer service folks or a lot of AI experts, because that's the domain that Inbenta lives in. But we haven't really talked to sales folks and how you work with customer service. And since you worked at Google and now you're at the.com, you obviously have, great experience as a VP of sales. So I wanted to ask you, how do you, as the VP of sales, how do you work with the customer service teams?
Yeah, it's great. It's a great question, because I've spent my entire career on kind of the commercial side of the business, right? Account management roles, business development, sales, but I've never had customer success in my title or worked for a customer success organization. That being said, I, just philosophically believe sales is an output of customer value and creating customer success. So I really think about sales and customer success almost as one and the same. At the .com, I'm, it's very early. I'm a month in. There's about 10 employees. We don't have a customer success organization yet. And really, my goal, if successful, is to not need customer success for a while. And when we do scale out a customer success org, hopefully it's lean and small. And the way in which to do that, I believe, is to instill a very deep customer service and customer success orientation across the organization. So I think it's a big, a lot of companies get it wrong and think about customer success as something that happens after the sale, right? And if you're waiting that long, you've probably missed the boat and you've left a lot of opportunity on the table. So what I'm trying to do from a sales perspective and a pre-sales perspective and even a product perspective is orient everyone around customer service and make sure everyone is accountable to creating a great customer experience and delighting our customers. That makes everyone's job a lot easier. I really learned that at Google, managing a sales team, but we were kind of a hybrid sales and account management team. So we had a quota. Our goals were revenue related, but the way in which we achieved those goals was in part by providing great customer support and service every single day, understanding our customers' needs, what success looked like from their perspective, and enabling them to do that. And oftentimes that's doing things that don't make you money immediately, but that's how you create long-term value. So I really think there's a very strong linkage between customer support and sales.
Yes, that is so important. And for everybody that's listening, I really want you to even rewind, is that a word we still use? Go back and actually listen to that again, because I've worked at an agency where sales got the sale, handed them off to customer service, and there was no connection. And it was such a horrible onboarding for the customer. And then the sales guy was gone, and they promised something that customer service didn't know that they did. And we do the same thing that you guys do at the .com and at Google. At Inbenta, we do the same thing. It's like you stay together. You know, everybody knows what you're doing, and we're all there about the customer and getting them to the success. I think that's so important. I love that you said that. And I like that you have this behemoth, Google, and this starter company, the .com, and you're doing the same thing. And that's really cool too, because you don't really see that a lot of times. So that's neat.
We're trying.
Yeah.
I mean, the .com, we're very early. We haven't quite done any of that yet, but I'm trying to lay some of the groundwork. And again, a lot of that philosophy is rooted in my time at Google and just seeing how important it was to deeply understand and be accountable for our customers at Google. So I'm trying to borrow a lot of that experience and apply it to this new context.
Yeah. So I imagine being in a company with how many employees did you say?
At the .com, again, I'm a month in, and I think I'm number 7, number 8.
So with limited resources like that, 8 people, how do you manage with like lack of time, lack of people? How's that going?
Yeah, I mean, it's startup world, and this is a new experience for me coming from a place that was flush with resources, right? So I'm certainly learning and adapting. But you know, the cliche holds true, right? Everyone does a little bit of everything based on what is needed for the business. What the .com has done to date, and the co-founders, I think, saw this as an opportunity and a necessity early on, was customer support. Again, was kind of embedded in everyone's role. So everyone, including the co-founders themselves, are involved in answering customer questions. From day one, they set up multiple channels of customer support and service. One, because I think they knew that our platform was different and unique enough that customers would likely need that, you know, kind of handholding to onboard successfully. And they were committed to helping new users learn the platform and be successful. And also, just from a business perspective, it's a great differentiator in the space. Customer support and service is not something website builders do well. You can't get someone on the phone at WordPress. You can search endless forums online. And the DIY builders, right? They just have so many users that they can't really prioritize high quality customer support. So it's a differentiator for us as well. So, you know, we have live chat. Again, we're a team of 8. Live chat, a Slack community, customer success email alias, although again, it doesn't go to a dedicated team just yet. It goes to the co-founders, it goes to me, and it goes to our developers, even the people on the back end.
So everybody gets to see if somebody has an issue or if somebody's giving you a compliment. That's actually really good. I like that too.
Yeah, and it goes both ways. One, you get, you know, the people who are deeply embedded in the product every day, providing great quality support, you know, from a developer and engineer perspective, and they stay connected to the customers, which is vital for an early stage company, right? Like as soon as you start losing touch with who your customers are and why you're building what you're building, then things can go off the rails pretty quickly. So the co-founders set that up from day one, which has provided a lot of benefits.
Yeah, oh, I love it. Can I ask you about Google a little bit?
Of course.
You can say no.
Okay. I was there for 9 years. I mean, I had a wonderful experience at Google. I really admire the company and have great friends and relationships there. So yes, always happy to talk about Google.
Awesome. I'm just curious because it's, again, such a behemoth. How did Google measure the success of their customer service teams?
Yeah, it's interesting. So at Google, I mean, just from an org chart perspective, they had a sales team, which was where I was manage, and we're talking about large customers here. So there were multiple channels of advertisers. I spent my 9 years in our large customer sales. So these were big household brand names spending um, lots of money on our platforms. And we had a more traditional customer service organization that was a little bit more technical in nature. So that was often an outsourced team that handled tickets, right? Like in the platform, how do I set up billing? How do I do X, Y, and Z? Um, but my team really spanned everything that was not a simple um, button to push in the platform, or a simple, um, the answer wasn't a simple, here's the help center article. So again, my customers were big, they were complex, they had lots of campaigns. There was a lot of pressure on us to deliver when they're spending that type of money with us. And so we, as a sales team, we were, compensated and incentivized as a sales team, but we were the first line of defense. So we were measured on your traditional sales metrics of revenue and growth. But we also looked at things like CSAT, regular customer satisfaction, to understand if we were delivering on our promise. And just from my experience being there a long time, I think, and understanding the business mechanics and how things worked and how you delivered long-term value for these customers who are, they're already spending a ton of money. Like, how do you consistently grow that base? You had to start looking at other metrics, like you had to kind of get to a baseline of what healthy spend looks like. And in the digital ad world, it's kind of hard to benchmark that, right? Like you can look at historical spend and are they growing? Great, that's good, but is it good enough? Like, what's the market doing? So we used a lot of benchmarking and developed a lot of internal metrics to help us understand, like, are our customers growing their spend? Yes, but are they getting more from us as they spend more from us? And that just required a deep partnership and trust being built with our customers, because we had to ask them those questions and they had to share often their back end data with us, which that took a lot of relationship building and trust building for them to do that. But that was the only way we could really know if, what we were delivering was actually adding incremental value to our customers.
Yeah. So when you were working there, how many clients would be under you? Like, how many would you have at
a dozen.
At a time? A dozen? Okay.
10 to 12.
Okay. That's interesting.
So it was, and my team was about the same size. So it was kind of a 1-to-1 ratio. And again, I had account managers and account executives. So account managers were, there was a lot of gray area, but in general, account managers were the ones that were solving problems, really focused on success, making sure the dollars coming in were well optimized and returning maximum benefit to our users. And our account executives were out there pitching new business, new channels, new platforms, kind of on a longer term horizon. So again, I was constantly kind of managing both. It was the same team, same customers, talking to the same people. And you couldn't just go sell to them every day. Like, if their stuff isn't working well today, you need to fix that first, or they're not receptive to hearing a sales message. So that experience is really foundational to how I think, again, about scaling now a business from very early days, like how from the start we need to be in lockstep with support and sales.
Yeah. So I want to change subjects a little bit. I want to talk about artificial intelligence. So as a senior salesperson, that obviously you've been at different types of companies, it's more your personal opinion, but I'm curious, how do you think AI is changing sales, not customer service? Because I do want to ask you that as well. So I want to see both. How is AI changing sales and like what's going to be in the future? And how is AI, in your opinion, changing customer service and what's going to happen there in the future? So start with sales. Like, what do you think? Are you a fan? Are you like, oh no, I like the personal touch more, or the combination of both?
Well, the good thing is it's not mutually exclusive, right? Like, yes, I'm a fan, and yes, you need the personal touch. And I think what we're in the middle of currently, um, in terms of AI and machine learning, is really about productivity, right? I mean, you get chat bots. Um, they both serve sales and customer support needs, right? When you visit a website, hey, how can I help you? And depending on what the user's needs are, it directs you to sales or customer support. So those are productivity gains, right? Like a chatbot can talk to a lot more customers around the clock, whereas a single sales or customer service rep can really only solve one problem for one person at a time. So there's a lot of value there. I think where AI and machine learning are going, where they need to go, is to get the productivity gains, but also not sacrifice quality, right? And I'm sure you've experienced this. I've experienced this, right? Like, you ask the bot a question and it returns a bunch of irrelevant results. Like, that can almost be more frustrating for a user. So there needs to be a lot of continued learning, right? Which is what these platforms do, to provide not only faster, more timely engagement, but also higher quality. Um, so I think that's kind of where we are now from a sales perspective. I mean, there's a ton going on. If you think about the sales stack and the whole process of how AI is kind of changing the game from, instead of just going out and buying a list of prospects and getting a phone number and you're just going to sit there and dial. Like, now there's a lot of intelligence platforms out there that can, ingest your criteria for what a good customer looks like. For us, for example, it's those small agencies and freelancers who typically work on WordPress. It can ingest that and now go out and scrape a lot of information to give us more customized and qualified lists of potential prospects to call or email. So you're seeing AI throughout the sales funnel, from helping define the prospects to then, okay, what message do you send which prospect at what time? Mm-hmm. Again, that takes a lot of work from a sales perspective, right? I got to go to their website, I got to understand their business. And now there's a lot of tools that can help enable that, and you can just automate that. Again, you got to do it the right way, and that takes a lot of investment up front to set up those systems and a lot of customer development, so you really know what your customer needs. And if you skip that step, then AI can really backfire on you too. Because if you're doing something wrong with the wrong message at the wrong time and doing that at scale, like, oops, now you're just magnifying the problem. So, AI, I think a lot of people can rush to AI because they think it solves and it can scale quickly. But if you don't invest in that very human-centric customer development upfront, really refining that product market fit, so you know who you're talking to, what their pain points are, and how you can address them. Then don't scale. Don't use AI yet until you've done the hard work.
Yeah. And I am going to add to that, do your research too. Before I came to Inbenta, I've had the same experiences you've had, right? Where the chat bots and everything is just so bad and it takes so long. They give me the wrong answers and stuff. And then when I went to Inbenta and I learned about the staff, I was like, whoa, we have so many linguistics and natural language processing systems. It's crazy. And then there's, like cuss words and slang and that type of thing. And so many, primitive chatbots, they don't have that. So if you don't say, how are you doing? Like they're not going to understand what's up. And so that's the type of stuff that's so important. So yeah, definitely, like scale slowly, like you said, and really pick the right tools too, because there are some really awesome ones and some that are not.
Yeah. And companies and the technology, it's amazing what these technologies can do and what they're capable of, what it's capable of, and the promise. But I think companies also have to have have a trigger too to know, okay, when do we pull the chatbot, right?
Yeah.
Nothing frustrates me more is when I get to a website, chatbot pops up, I close it out, and then 15 seconds later, there it is again, right? Like there's just some things that we can't take our eye off just the user experience. And again, put yourself in a user situation every day. That's something I try to do myself. Like go to my own website, go through the flow, use my own product. Does it make sense? Right? There are a lot of there's a lot of low hanging fruit and things that we can do just by being a little more human
Yeah.
before rushing to AI and a technology based solution.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to get to our last question. And I want to kind of marry the sales and the customer service. I would love to know from you, for the companies that do have separate sales and customer service, perhaps even, what is your number one advice how sales and customer service can and should work together?
I think I think it's shared goals. You know, goals and rewards drive behavior. Um, and I'm a huge fan of uh, Mark Roberge, former CRO. Sorry, I'm butchering his last name, of HubSpot. He's now an investor. I forget his fund, but he's his big thing is like, what is that early aha moment for a new user or a new customer that is a predictor of retention, a predictor of lifetime value. And it takes a while in hypotheses and testing to define what that thing is. But you can't wait till just look at retention, because that's a lagging indicator. Like, you need to understand what the leading indicators are of retention. And I think understanding what that KPI is and holding both sales and customer success accountable to that metric. So, for example, just to make this a little more clear for your listeners, for Dropbox, for example, it was when they saw a user upload one file to one folder on one device. Like, once a user had done that action, that was a great predictor that they would be a valuable user, and that they would share, and there would be a kind of snowball effect. For Slack, I think they found that when a team sent 2,000 messages, like that was the indicator that led to success. So I think you need to figure, as a business, you need to figure out what that thing is, and then sales needs to be held accountable to that. So if you think about a compensation plan, you shouldn't just incentivize your sales team to bring in the business and then they're done. Maybe you withhold some of that variable comp until a customer hits that early milestone. And if they don't hit that early milestone, well, maybe the sales team isn't bringing in the right type of customers. So that's one way. And then for customer success, they need to be held accountable to, okay, as soon as that handoff and transition happens, you need to understand where your customer is on that journey and accelerate their time to value. How quickly can you, as a customer success rep, get them to that point of 2,000 messages or one file in one folder on one device? And if both teams are incentivized to do that, they're naturally going to work together, share more, collaborate more, and the customer's going to be successful, and everyone wins.
Yeah. I love ending on this. Everyone wins. That is amazing. That's good. I love that, especially the compensation plan. I hadn't thought about that you were saying where sales, they can get the rest of the compensation or the bonus or whatever you want to call it after that customer hits the milestone. That's a really good way to think about that. Well, that is the end, Paul. Thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks so much for tuning in. This podcast was brought to you by Inbenta. Inbenta Symbolic AI implements natural language processing that requires no training data with Inbenta's extensive lexicon and patented algorithms. Check out this robust customer interaction platform for your AI needs, from chatbots to search to knowledge centers and messenger platforms. Just go to our website to request a demo at Inbenta.com. That's INBENTA.com. And if you liked what you heard today, please be sure to subscribe to this podcast and leave us a review. Thank you.